Hi guys, this video is not going to be a typical like fragrance review video. I just wanted to come on and share some thoughts that I've been having lately about this perfume hobby and how it can kind of, how to kind of keep it healthy, like to not let it expand out too far, to not overspend, not overconsume, and just kind of keep purchasing things, being completely unaware, having all this money and like bound capital, keeping and holding on to dust collectors that you know you're never going to use. I've kind of found something here. I've seen it. I struggle with it myself because I can feel that urge to buy, and I know that I might be wasting my money because it's an unreasonable amount of money, and I have this. I almost feel it's almost like a true calling that I'd like to help people with this, and I already have actually helped people with this, kind of on a hands-on kind of basis. I mean, I basically sat down with them and held their hand while they let go of bottles, like putting ads out, and sitting there with them while they realize they're going to lose money on some, gems that they've had in their collection that they no longer wear. They might have had like a leather period. They might have bought, some vintage bottles back 10, 12 years ago, but they never use them. And they do want to keep, exploring new fragrances, but there's no more space, or they need to free up money. Because of course it's not fun losing like half the price that you paid or even more. Some fragrances don't sell because the fragrances are not well known, and they're not very well known. Maybe they're not that popular because they're kind of like really special. They have a really kind of weird smell, and not many people like them. And it also makes it a little complicated to like sell overseas because of customs and postage and shipping and all that kind of stuff. So in Sweden, where I live, is a kind of a small country, and this is a hobby that's very, very narrow. So we don't have so many potential buyers. So you're just going to have to accept that you're not going to get your money back. There is, of course, the way you can decant, but that's also a lot of work. And it's not for sure that people will buy decants if your taste is kind of unusual, right? So and I made many mistakes during these 3 years that I've actually been in this hobby. It was in 2019 that I really started to take off. And I'll just mention that I have a personality that tends to get really kind of obsessed. I'm obsessive about certain things. Like I go all in on one thing for a period of time, and then I kind of go to the next thing and I get all into that. Some people have this kind of personality and some don't, but it is kind of it gives you a lot of energy, and it makes, like when I'm in this mode, I can learn so much because I just kind of, I just dive in and I want to know everything. And I was into cooking for 25 years. I mean, that was a hobby that really lasted, and that can really be combined with, household work. We have to eat. So it was also a really appreciated kind of hobby that I had. Right behind me there are some of my cookbooks. I was a cookbook addict for a while. I've been addicted to salsa dancing. When I started dancing in 1997, I could not think of anything else. It was just on my mind all the time. Then eventually I met my husband at a salsa club. We got married. We started, having babies. I kind of left the dancing, and then kind of the babies became my new obsession, I guess. And then it's been many things. I had a while where I was addicted to kind of secondhand shopping, not to the level like for the cooking addiction. But while I was in this cooking addiction, I could spend like all my awake time thinking about things that I would cook, thinking about the things I wanted to learn, the spices I wanted to buy. There was just, there's just so much out there. There's so much to learn, so little time. I just had so much fun with it. And I finally started my own business selling grocery bags, ready-plan grocery bags. And I ran that business with my husband for 10 years. And then I sold it in 2017. And then I slowly started to get into fragrance. And I haven't found a way yet to make money on fragrance. But I'm thinking maybe to become, maybe to help people that have a little bit of a hoarding issue, or something that they overspend money on, overconsume, get obsessive about, like have this like collection kind of obsessiveness. I mean, these are just first thoughts, but I think I could really help people I mean, not just in Sweden hands-on, which I've already done. I mean, I've done it for friends, I mean, for free, because I kind of feel like my calling, because I think I found a way myself to keep my hobby under control. I'll tell you a little bit about my collection. I have 54 full bottles. I have maybe 20 like travel size or, smaller, like 10 mil, 7.5. The Perfume aromas, I guess, are like 17 or 18 mils. I got a few of those, but they don't take so much space. And then I have like 45 decants perhaps, and just a few samples that I just keep getting rid of. But I have my collection is under like constant circulation. I keep letting go of stuff. If they collect dust, if I know I never wear them, I sell them, even if it hurts. Or I swap them. That's a really good way of getting your money back, because maybe I buy them secondhand and then I swap them for something that's where, that retails for about the same price. And then I'm always getting new fragrances into my collection. But I don't have this thing that I want to have like a nice lineup within the same house that I see some of my friends do. They get really carried away with like having all the, I don't know, join the club from Xerjoff collection because they like look good together, or the, Penhaligon's portraits, or, that lineup, and like to put them on display. So that's kind of a red flag right there. If you're into that, that can get really expensive, and you probably, I mean, if you do enjoy looking at them all the time, maybe that's one thing, but you might also be bothered by the fact that you've spent so much money on something that you're never going to wear. Also, I just spoke to a friend this morning about, he has kind of the tendency to buy fragrances that overlap each other, like scent-wise, that they're really close. And of course, he might use only like the best one in that category, and the other ones just remain standing. And now he's got like, I don't know, like several hundred fragrances, and he just wants, I think what he wants to keep is like 30 something fragrances, like his favorites. That's one thing. But I mean, one thing that has worked for me, I realize this video doesn't have much structure. I just kind of pressed record and I'm now speaking to you guys. But I'm going to like structure my thoughts and maybe work out a method and rules that I've made for myself. And also like keep track of what you've spent, to like not forget. It's easy to forget all the money that you put into the fragrance collection. And one thing that has really worked for me is that I have the rule, I cannot buy a new fragrance bottle unless my sample is gone. The best is if I also go through one decant before buying. And I can never pay full retail price until I've gone through the decant or sample. If I find an incredibly good price, let's say 65% of original price is usually pretty good for a popular fragrance, then I let myself buy it. But then I do have shopping sprees, like when I go to another city and I have the chance to like explore a special perfume shop, then I get quite emotional. I kind of want to contribute to the person who puts their soul into like keeping this shop. So then I see it as I'm kind of like contributing to the arts somehow. But it's kind of an aware decision I've made. And I think it's also, I mean, everyone has to also kind of like think about their own economical situation. If they're married, you have a mutual economy, that you speak about this with your spouse, and that you agree on that you're spending a reasonable amount and taking a reasonable amount of space in your home for your fragrances. I mean, if you figure out, how much you actually use of fragrance, and I use a lot of fragrance. I spray a lot, and I change my fragrance probably like 3 or 4 times a day. With all the testing I do, I probably at least wear 5-6 fragrances a day. Like during the afternoon, I wear one on each arm, and I compare things, and because life is just too short to kind of like wear one fragrance a day. I want to be able to wear my fragrances a lot and kind of rotate back to them. And a little update on Overture Woman. It's really growing on me. The other day I posted a video. I don't know which ones of you saw that, but I thought maybe I had made a mistake, and I spent so much money on a fragrance that I wasn't sure I would like, because I thought it was too heavy, too boozy, maybe a little too masculine leaning. But I'm really starting to like this boozy fragrance. I don't have anything else boozy in my collection, so I didn't make that mistake of buying things that were too similar to things I already have. That lesson I think I've learned. I don't do that anymore. Like now I'm all full up on irises, so whenever I try new irises, I have to be really, really careful that this really has something new to bring to the collection. If there's something that's really, really close, I should probably not buy it. So when I buy something, I really have to think, what do I already have that smells similar to this? And I've stopped myself a time or two already, since I have a travel size of Love Don't Be Shy, which is a really kind of potent vanilla orange blossom, kind of marshmallowy style fragrance, which is really strong and super, like the longevity is unbelievable. The projection is enormous. After that, I, for example, did not buy Safanad. I've tried a sample and I just felt this does not measure up. It's the same kind of category, but it's not as good. And I probably wouldn't go and buy Oriana, and I wouldn't go and buy Sintra from Memo because they're too close. Even if those might have things that I would be interested in. Had I not had that 7.5 travel size from by Kilian's Love Don't Be Shy. So I'm thinking about like putting all this together into kind of like a little school, a little method, like a step-by-step thing. And then maybe eventually I will take on clients and I can help them hands-on. I mean, the ones that live around here. But I could also, when I have maybe some reference clients and I can have some track record, like I help this person and look how he's doing now, look how she's doing now. And it's become much more fun and all the guilt is gone, all the money they saved. And I can show, they can show me that I helped them to do that. I was a catalyst for that, or I was their coach, or I don't know what I would call myself, but I could also go online and help people globally with this. And it wouldn't have to be just perfumes. It could be, people get carried away with buying fashion or hoodies or watches or cars. Or I have a neighbor who collects pipes. And whenever he goes abroad, he buys like a new pipe for like $300 that looks super similar to the ones that he already has. And he'll like polish his pipes and fix them up. Sometimes they're secondhand, I think quite often. And he has all these different kinds of tobacco. I mean, way more than he'll ever smoke. I only think he smokes like a pipe like once in a while. But he's got this cute little cupboard and they're all lined up and they have these little stands. I think I might be able to help him too, So I just think that I have, if I can kind of get my own, if I can structure this and kind of get my message out there of how I've myself kind of gripped this issue and made sure that it didn't kind of like go too far. I think I'm within a reasonable kind of framework here. I don't overspend according to my economy. I'm not like, and also I don't have a husband right now. I became a widow actually 6 years ago. So I think if my husband was still alive, I don't know what I would have done. I would have had to kind of justify like how much I'm spending. And I think he would be good about it because, I mean, he always wanted me to be happy. But I think I would have been a little bit more considerate maybe because we had everything together and he was never a spender. When he was alive, I used to like always buy, something really nice for his birthday or for Christmas that he was kind of too cheap to spend on himself. I know he always wanted a pair of R.M. William leather boots. And he looked at them so many times. The ad would come in the paper and he would be like just longing for these boots. And they were like $400. I don't know how much, but I finally got them for him and he loved them. He wore them for like 12 plus years or something. He just wore them and loved them every day. So, I mean, he was very controlled in that way. He never overspent. And I've never really been a real spender myself either. And I think that if I compare myself to some of the friends in my perfume community, I mean, I'm nowhere close to where they are, but I've only also been in this hobby for 3 years and many of them have been in this so much longer. But if I look at the speed, like how quickly they've built a huge collection, they're going at a faster rate. I mean, I know someone that buys one fragrance a week. His wife is not into fragrance at all. They live in an apartment. Don't have kids yet, I don't think. I'm just saying, that might work for them, I don't know, but I'm just thinking like, what happens when you die, like who's going to use all those fragrances? But I guess you can sell them, and I store my fragrance as well, but it might be really hard to find someone that will enjoy them. So I think a little bit about, I'm kind of in the middle of my life, and these kind of questions, and also since I lost my husband early, I think I've had kind of the experience of death like really close. And this, I want to make this into kind of a useful experience for others. And I really believe in like sharing. Tomorrow could be, I mean, this could be your last day. We don't know how we're going to go, when we're going to go. And I just think like just adding like fragrance after fragrance to, to one's collection, it comes to a point where it doesn't make any sense anymore. You know, we get happy and we might have a little, you know, like a little kick when we buy a fragrance. But afterwards, for me anyway, it kind of, there's a little bit of a hangover feeling a little bit when I've spent too much. And I mean, like, for example, this summer, I went to some different places. I went abroad. I went to up north in Sweden and went to this special perfume shop, and I bought like 10 bottles total. I spent a lot of money on these fragrances, but now I'm using them to swap. Like, I haven't swapped complete full bottles, but that I, of course, could also do, but I'm swapping decants. So I get new fragrances to explore kind of all the time, which it makes it really nice. And it helps me connect with other people, like having new things in my collection. So, I mean, it's just all, for me, it's still like all fun, but I do feel a little bad, a little bit guilty when I've overspent. And since I know other people close to me are really overspending, and maybe to the point where they're like, they use all their salary in the first week, and by the end of the month, they have a hard time paying their bills. And if I can help anyone with that type of problem, and also maybe be able to find within yourself what's causing this, what is it actually giving you, and what are the mental costs of this behavior. What else could you be spending your money on? Are there other ways of doing this? Maybe now I bought like a bunch of like 2 ml decants. So I thought I could like swap samples, make my own samples and swap with other people. So I don't have to go out and spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on fragrances that I might not like in the long run. You know, even if I do like them in the long run, it'll take so long for me to use like big bottles. Most niche bottles don't come in small packaging. It's usually 100. Like a lot of especially like the indie ones, like the smaller brands. I don't know if you've noticed that they only have 100 a lot. Maybe 50. Some have 30. I mean, like Mascalano has 35. That's a good size. I think like zoologists, they have 60 or 65, 60 I think it is, which is okay. But like all these 100 ml bottles that I've bought the last couple years, it's kind of past, I think I've gone overboard too. But I do have an easy time letting go. And I also, I give sometimes fragrances away. One of my perfume friends had a birthday the other day, and I really didn't have a present plan for her, so I gave her a bottle. Something that was, what was it? Essence de Patchouli from, what's that brand called? God, sometimes I just can't find the words. It'll come to me. The same as Ylang Ylang, Nosy Bay. What are they called now again? It'll come back to me. Anyway, I have things that are quite similar. I don't need it. It's just, I think I made a video on that. 3 overlapping fragrances that were all a little bit too similar. It was ambergris, and it was Essence de Patchouli, and I think it was Bijou, no, wait a minute. No, it was Stefan Humbert, Lucas 777. What was it called now again? Col de Bahrain. Those 3 were just too similar to own, so I've actually now decluttered. I don't like that word because I really liked all the fragrances and I don't see it as clutter, but kind of, I guess, because I kept the one I liked the best and I let the other go. So, no, actually now I've let them all 3 go because I realized I had one other fragrance that kind of fills that gap. So yeah. So I'll get back to you on this issue, and please let me know if you think that this might be something. All you frag heads out there, do you know people in your communities that would need this kind of help? Do you have friends that have similar problems, maybe, but in other areas? They're addicted to buying watches. They're addicted to buying, I don't know, video games, or building collections just for the sake of it. Personal development books. I'm in a book group, and I know someone there that tends to buy a lot of these books and online courses and whatnot. I don't know what they buy, but yeah. this was kind of a long video, but these are some initial thoughts. Oh, getting a phone call. Bye.